Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I am so excited because today I have a Financial Latina here, Jackie. Hi, Jackie.
Hi.
And we're going to
Hello,
talk.
everybody.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait for her to talk to you about her channel too. I want to get to know her. She's fantastic. And we're going to be talking about budget basics. Say that 3 times fast. And how to save money. And we have a whole bunch of questions from you guys that I can't wait to get to. So, Jackie, do you want to tell everyone about your channel?
Of course, I am known as the Financial Latina. I actually not too long ago changed my name. It used to be Jackie Collins Finances, and what I am striving to do on my channel is really help others get their financial affairs in order, and that encompasses budgeting, saving, paying off debt, all those great, amazing things. So I want to share my journey with all those things myself because I'm also going through it. This is my money journey, and hopefully inspiring others to save more, pay off their debts, and budget for their expenses.
Yeah. Your channel
That's
is
a little
so
bit about what my channel is about.
Your channel is so honest. That's what I really like about it. Your personality shines through. Your
Can you
personality
hear
is like
me?
contagious. Yes, can you hear me? Can you
Not
hear me?
really. I don't know if
No?
you can hear me, but it sounds kind of choppy.
Hold on one second. Let me see if I can do something on my side. Sorry guys, technical difficulties here. Okay. Can you hear me better now?
Yes. Can you
Yes?
hear me well, though?
Yeah, no, I can hear you. I can hear you fine. Guys, please let us know if
Okay.
you can hear
I
her.
think it's on your end, Debbie.
Oh, and I lost her. Technical difficulties. Yep. So we're talking about budget basics. And I asked on Instagram and on YouTube if you guys can send me some questions. And we got some great questions. And I'm hoping that if Jackie can hear me, she'll come back on. But I wanted to say hi to everyone. Let's see. Hi, Jan. How are you? Hi, Jan. How you doing? Oh, yes, again. Hold on. Let's try again.
I can't really hear you very well.
Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, but I don't know if it's
Yes?
just our connections going off. Oh, I feel so bad.
No, no. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. If I lose you, just come back. So, oh,
Was
and
it on my end or is it on yours?
I have no idea. Guys, let me know in the comments. Can you guys hear us?
Because I can't, like, I hear you very choppy from your end, but I'm not
Really?
sure if it's on my end.
Yeah, no, I can hear you just fine. Oh, no, they're telling us
Okay.
it's loud and clear. So we
They
got,
can hear us?
yes. Yeah, they're saying they can hear you. Can you see the comments? Oh, I've lost her again. Okay, so I'm going to start it off and hopefully she'll come back on and we'll have a better connection. So Angel from My Real Life Budgets. Hi, Angel. I miss you already. She was on my show last week. I'll leave a link to that show down below. But she asked, what would you tell someone struggling to get their budget to balance? What I would say is, like, we're talking about budget basics. What I would say is the first thing is you have to make sure to list all of your monthly expenses. And most people, when they start doing that, there's some things that they leave out. Like, even if it's like a dollar lottery or like a convenience store, like you run in and you grab a snack, like make sure you're writing everything down. Because by writing everything down, you're able to keep track of everything, and then that'll help you balance your budget. And Jackie's trying again. Let's see here.
Are you, it's like, I'm not sure if it's my end or not, but I'm not hearing you very well.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry to hear that. Everyone is saying that they can hear us just fine. I don't know.
Okay.
Are you on
So
your phone?
should we continue, even though I can't really hear you too well?
Whatever you want to do. Do you want to try to reconnect and see what happens, or try to do it on your phone? I don't know if you or laptop.
I can try off my laptop. That's
Yeah, let's
fine.
try your laptop.
Maybe there's a connection on my, on the internet end.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to try like I can try like Wi-Fi.
Okay. You want to do that and try to get back on? I'll keep going with the questions in the meantime, and I can't wait to get your opinion on everything. You there? I think I'm losing her. I'm sorry, you guys. Hang on. So anyway, so when someone is struggling with their budget, that's what I really think is really important, is to just make sure that you keep track of everything, because track of everything, then you can see what money comes in and what money then has to be allocated to your expenses. And then hopefully that'll help you balance things a little better. And you can see money left over that you can either throw at your debt or your emergency fund, or be able to then pay off an emergency fund, or hopefully put something into savings, because that's really the next question I got was from Kat, and I want to give Kat a shout out. She's fantastic. Her channel is Katherine May, and she does some inspirational videos, and she really helps you get motivated to start your day right, whether it's organizing or cleaning. Her personality is just contagious, and she's just so bubbly. So she's is the best way to budget for a vacation and not feel bad when you spend money for it. When I heard this, I was like, oh my gosh, Kat, like, I'm with you. Like, even when we were starting to pay off, and which took us 2 years, and we paid off $48,000 of it. And then the next 2 years we allocated to our emergency fund, because we wanted to put away 8 months worth of expenses. So during all that time, I was still taking a little bit of money, not a lot, but a little bit of money, and putting it in an account that was linked to our checking account. So that's what we called our, and I even named it. So when I log on to my bank account for a little bit of extra motivation, I named it the Disney Club Fund, because I wanted to see that I had a place where I was putting for something fun, because it's such a struggle when you're in debt, or when you're trying to come up with savings or an emergency fund or balance your budget, and you need to do something to kind of motivate you to keep going. And for us, that fund was everything. So, and that way you don't feel guilty either, because the money that I allocated for that was, every cent was spent on that vacation. We had an amazing time. I ended up having a little bit of extra money back, where we spent it on like souvenirs, and a little extra cash back in our pockets at the end of everything, because I really budgeted frugal about that trip, like you wouldn't believe. And we had such an amazing time. You wouldn't be able to look at it and say that I was being frugal, but I saved every cent for that Disney vacation. And now we have another slush fund for Disney. So hopefully, keeping our fingers crossed, in 2 years, we're going to be back there, and we're going to be having an amazing time. So Kat, I hope that helped. And Jackie's trying again. Let's see what happens.
Oh, did it work?
Hey.
Please tell me it worked.
Can you hear?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yay.
Okay, good. Okay.
So while you've been going, I answered the first 2 questions, but I would love to hear your input on them. So the first one was, what would you tell me? What would you tell someone who's struggling to balance their budget?
Okay, the first thing I would say is, depending if you're a beginner. So like if you are just starting off, like it takes a lot of patience, some grace and time for you to understand like what budget works best for you, what categories you need to include in your budget, how much of each of your amount of income goes to each category. So I would say the first thing I want to start off right off the bat is letting you guys know that it is a balancing act, but it takes time. Yeah. It doesn't happen right away. It's kind of like learning something new, like learning to tie your shoes. You're learning as a kid, you don't know how to do it. You're slowly being taught, and you're gonna learn eventually. So that's something I would say is the first thing is to just remember that give yourself some grace. Mm-hmm. It isn't always easy to see that balance happen, but it will happen. And the next thing I would say is, I had my notes. I don't have them with me because I'm on the Chromebook. But I wrote to kind of see where your money is going. So like when I think of a balance, I think of how much is coming in and how much is going out. So that way you can know, okay, is a lot of my money going towards one category, one area? Can I decrease? Can I change that area? And can I balance that budget out a little bit more? Something that I know a lot of people love to do, and it depends on who you are, but a lot of people choose percentages. So there's the 50, 30, 20% rule. And then there's other different kinds of percentages that you can come up with based on how much you make and how much you put for each category. So I would say like that's another thing as well.
Mm-hmm. I was just looking at the comments while you were answering, and Granny Prepper, she always has great comments. I'm going to tap on it. Let's see if you can see it. So she says, "Bobby and I each get an allowance rather than try to keep track of every dime spent." That's really great, honestly, because in that way you guys can even have a little bit of extra cash in your pocket, so you can do something fun for yourself.
I see the comments, just to let you know.
Oh, awesome. I'm so glad.
So I'm so glad everybody's on here.
Yes, no. Oh, Katherine May is here. I was just giving her a shout out while you were gone, and I was going to get to her question and answer it next. Here she is.
Okay.
Oh, thank you for the kind words, Debbie, and thank you for talking about my question. No, her channel is great, and I'll link her channel down below so everyone can see it. Really needs to have a little bit of Katherine in life. Like, she's so bubbly. She actually gets me to wake up in the morning earlier than I want to, so I can be productive. She's awesome. So actually, here is her question. I'm going to read them to you to make it a little easier since you're on your phone. And thank you so much for connecting back on, Jack.
No, it's okay. It's great. As long as I remember what I was trying to say with each question, because that was like, I had my notes on there. But even before you move on, I remembered me and what I wrote. And I was going to say that for the balancing question, hopefully I don't lose my train of thought. But for the balancing question, we'll come back to it. If we need to.
When you mentioned this, I don't know about you, but for me, I'm not a natural budgeter. Like I've talked about it before on my channel, but my husband's the one that chased me down the hallway with his Excel spreadsheet. And he's like, "Come on, you got to look at the numbers." So for me, it's not normal and it's not natural. I'm enjoying it. Like ever since I started, like before I started my channel, that's why I did it, because I really enjoy it. I enjoy finding ways of saving money. I enjoy where we are now compared to where I was many years ago. Like it's like a different life altogether. But that's why for me, when I hear, and I'm not criticizing anyone's method, talking about what works,
right?
Percentages like the 50, 30, 20. I'm like, no, I like to keep things simple. Like, like I like to whatever money we have coming in, obviously we try to increase as much as we can. Our expenses, I have them down as possible. Like I have a bunch of videos on how I did that. And then now that we're finally out of debt and our emergency fund is finally funded, now I know whatever's left over, then that gets back up into like my retirement accounts, my husband's, the kids' 529s, our Disney slush fund, which is what I was saying was my answer for Katherine. So Katherine May, again, I'll link it down below. She's awesome. So I already answered it, but I'd love to see what you think.
Okay.
So what is the best way to budget for a vacation and not feel bad when you spend money for it?
Well, I would say this doesn't work for everybody. Not everybody, everybody has their own personal finances. So like what works for you might not work for somebody else. And what works for that other person might not work for you. But I love sinking funds. Like I love them. I know that for some things, like while I'm on my debt-free journey, I know I'm going to be spending money. Like I know it. So there's no way around that. There are holidays that come up that people partake in, like Christmas happens every single year, and, Thanksgiving and all that stuff. So I would say even with stuff like that, like big ticket items, like getting a car, going on a vacation, celebrating an anniversary milestone, all those things that you really want to do, you can still do them even when you have debt. It's just a matter of saving up little by little and having a projected date. So that way, okay, I want to make it to this point by this date and have this amount of money, and it's going to cover everything. So I love sinking funds, and I use them myself. I haven't been as great since COVID happened because I'm trying my best to not be as fluid with cash holding, but I've been trying to do like digital and slowly converting to that. And honestly, I'm not hating it. So I thought I would, but it's been kind of fun because it avoids me having to go to the bank and make that extra stop.
Yep.
But it's also, it's a catch-22. I miss it. But what I would say is, do not, also along those lines, do not feel guilty for wanting to do things. Like guilt is a real thing. Like I've definitely have felt it, like 100%. And I think it's because we're trying to be so frugal with our spending, and we're learning more about our money, and we're learning about what it takes to, you know, be this person that's well off, whatever that might mean to you, and whatever it is that you're working on. It doesn't have to be paying off debt. It could be going on a vacation and really wanting to, because you know what? You work hard for your money. You do. So if you want to go on a vacation, I say, I wrote on this, even though it's a real thing, and yes, we do feel guilty, let go of the guilt. Let it go, because it's so important to be happy. And honestly, that's all that we're all looking for when we're trying to get our finances in order, when we're trying to save money, when we're trying to get better in a financial situation. We're all trying to be happy. We're all trying to be healthy. We're all trying to succeed. So that's what I would say is, let go and release the guilt, because it's definitely a real feeling. And I think the more you gain control of your finances, the harder it can be to spend on yourself and on the things that you really want to do. But like I said, and I will continue to say, like, you work hard for your money, and if you want to go on a vacation, then you do it, you know. And sometimes you can do it where you make it something where if you have debt or you have things that you need to pay off, that can be a halfway celebration point, you know. That can be a way to celebrate your wins. So it's totally your money. It is totally in your control. Release the guilt, save for that vacation, and have fun.
For me, I know what you mean about guilt, because like I'm the type of person, like, you know, like I've mentioned it before, like robotic, like I like very much like, you know, we're paying off, every cent goes to debt, every cent goes to debt, you know. And then finally, when we got out of that, you know, 2 years of that, it kind of like warps your mind, like, you know, like, no, I don't want to, I'm taking this money, I'm throwing the debt, you know what I mean? Which is a great thing because it's motivating and it gets the job done. But at the same time, like, if it wasn't for that slush fund that I had for my Disney vacation, where I was just throwing in just a little bit, it wasn't a lot, but it was motivating, because then I wasn't just like this, like there was something fun, you know, to look at. Because at the end of the day, being consumer debt free is one of the most happiest moments my husband and I have shared, other than our kids. We were crying, like we were hugging, like I was a mess. I thought I didn't have makeup on, or I'll be like, and it was New Year's, so we're like, Happy New Year. It was a moment we'll never forget. Honestly, he still talks about it. He's like, oh my gosh, you were crying like a baby. I'm like, oh my god, it was liberating. I literally felt like I lost my shoulders, you know. But at the same time, if those 2 years felt like an eternity for us, you know. And so, like, if it wasn't for that Disney account where I just threw a little bit in, and then you hear these financial people over saying like, no, you know, you eat rice and beans and rice, and you know, and everything, and the kid in the sink gets thrown at the debt. And I'm like, no, like that slush fund like was such a me. And at work, of course, like I'm a foodie, and you know, they have menus being printed all the time, and all my coworkers, you know, I have no idea where they are on their financial journey, because I don't work, but they want food. And they're like, oh, you know, and it's $13 here, and it's $20 there, and it's like a $7 cup of coffee. And to them, it's fine. To me, when I was like this, you know, I'm like, oh no, I'm okay. I make coffee at home, and here it is. My motivator, because, you know, obviously when I see like these great meals being brought in from restaurants, and I'm eating like my leftovers, I printed the Disney Castle picture, and I had it on the bottom of my computer. So every time that they ordered out and I didn't, I was just staring at it, and I was like, no, like it was like a motivator for me to save even more. You know, so
Yep.
having a vacation, Kat, I have to tell you, is like, just to answer her question, it's I don't think anyone should ever feel guilty about that, no matter where you are in your financial journey. You always have something to look forward to, you know, like, and especially an experience. For me, the way that it happened, it was kind of awesome because we were putting away for years. And when I finally had enough to do it, I had, like, you know, credit card miles and rewards and things like that. I frugaled the heck out of this vacation. Like, you need to do a video on that. Like, I pretty much cut it like 40%, like the whole trip.
Wow.
And you couldn't tell, at all. Like, you thought like I was living the nine, you know, like gold card or something. And meanwhile, I frugaled the heck out of it. But it was like, again, it was such a motivator to do that. But the way that it fell, it happened to be that way. It really fell. We said Happy New Year. It was December. That August we were in Disney. So like we were only like 8 months into funding our emergency fund. And even like then, when technically that's what you're supposed to do and you're not supposed to do anything else, we're like, no, we went and had an amazing time. So I think no matter what, we all put guilt on ourselves. You know, like I have mom guilt sometimes when I'm editing my video. When I can be putting my lip on it. We all have guilt one way or another, especially women. For some reason, like we do that to ourselves. Like we think we're super women and we can do everything and anything. A vacation, I think, is just such a positive thing. I don't think anyone should ever feel guilty about spending a dime on it. I'm like, go for it.
When I read that, I was like, oh, Kat. Like, I really felt it. I mean, I loved all the other questions as well, but I was just like, my heart, because I felt how that has. I've been there. I've been there where I've wanted something. Like, I'm actually just starting to save for a car because I've never owned a car in my life. Like, it took me a long time. This is totally off topic, but it took me a long time to even muster the strength to get a license and like see myself as enough of a person to be like, okay, I can make this happen. Because I, like, in high school, they didn't teach everybody. So it was like very selective. And I wasn't able to do it then when everybody was like super excited and happy. And this is like an amazing, great thing. And we're being adults. And so I kind of, you know, took a few years for me to finally come around. And then I was like, you know what? Yes, I'm in debt, but I'm going to start saving for a car. And I really want a car, and it's not going to be a beater car, but it will be beater-ish. So that's that's what I've been saying on my videos. It's going to be a beater-ish car. So it won't be like falling off, you know, the wheels will be falling off or anything like that, but it will be hopefully a reliable, decent car where I can get around, because transportation is a huge, you know, it's a huge, I mean, money resource in general. So of course, you know, I've never experienced like a car payment, a car note. I've never have, like, because I've never owned a car, you know, car insurance, none of that. My husband does. So that's one way we get around. And then where I currently live, like there's a bus system down here because it's like a college campus. There's a college campus nearby. So I don't really need it, but I'm like, you know what? I'm going to save for it. And I am going to get there little by little. And it's going to be wonderful.
And it's going to feel great not having to do a car loan. That was 2 car loans, and my husband had a trade-in, and he had cash that we had saved up, and so it made his car loan a lot less. Me, on the other hand, Hurricane Sandy, I'm 7 months pregnant. My car is skating on the road. There's ice everywhere. Our family was increasing by 1. There's no way we'd all fit in this tiny little car, so we had to go about it. And so I traded in, but I had to we ended up having to finance because of Hurricane Sandy. What was happening was a lot of people were trying to get rid of their cars, so they were hiding water damage. And of course, like, you know, knows about cars, I learned because of this, is like it can have rust inside, so you can't see it. A year or 2 later, it falls apart on you, and there's nothing you can do. You can't do anything about it. It's a natural disaster, is what they say. So because of that, we ended up having to get a new car. At least his was a certified used car. It was only 2 years old, and the warranty was just as good as a brand new car. But for me, we couldn't trust the buy a used car, so we had to buy a new car. So then that ended up making my debt mountain like this big. So the way you're doing it is fantastic, Jackie. It's fantastic. Let me just look at comments real quick here.
Of course.
Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh, Angel from my real life budget. Do you see this? LOL. Such a good idea. Punta Fund is getting.
And like seeing, it's funny, but like seeing those things like in us, you know, even if you do it online or if you do it with an envelope or however you do it, like it doesn't have to be super complicated or fancy. Like you can use a blank white envelope. Like it doesn't, you know, or you can put it into a savings account. Hopefully better the savings account, that way you can gain a little bit of interest from it. But when you log into your account, you're always going to see that, and that's going to be a huge like reminder for you to keep, you know, being focused and remembering like why you're doing this in the first place. You know, that's a good why. A lot of people need to pull that from their why. And I've said this in the past too, like I will put my debt amount anywhere I can, like anywhere I can. It's on my Chromebook, it's on my phone. And maybe that seems a little discouraging, but to be honest, like seeing it go down and down and down and seeing what I've done, I've even switched it to like, this is the loan I paid off. This is the amount that I paid off. You know, this is the loan I paid off. This is the amount I've paid off. So like a screenshot of all my loans, the ones that have a zero balance. So it's just you are finding ways to stay motivated, stay encouraged, and see that number everywhere, because, or see that, you know, vacation fund or whatever everywhere, because it's really going to help you out. It's really going to help keep that motivation going.
Yeah. And that goes with what Granny Pepper's saying. The way your money is spent on vacations, nights, whatever you want or need. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Of course.
So the next question is from Jay, and Jay has a great channel as well. I have to give her a shout out. She's actually, I've become really good friends with her. She's not even in the United States. I'm like, that's what I love about YouTube. We get to connect with people.
Oh, that's cool.
Awesome. So her channel is My Top Organized. And so she does like cleaning, and she does cooking. She does family blogs. She's just, her personality and her family are adorable. Anytime I want to relax and see something that just brings you joy, like I go to Jay. So she's awesome. And I'm going to link her channel down below. So
okay.
What do you teach your children budget?
What was the question again?
How do you teach your children to budget? I said it wrong. Okay,
so I would say this. I do not have kids. So I've never had to teach my children to budget. But the biggest way that I can think of is if I did have kids and put myself in that situation to ask myself that question, I would get started as soon as I possibly can. Like as soon as I can get them to understand what's going on, I will have them in the budget meetings. I will have them, you know, kind of seeing everything as I am on my budget and teaching them as well. And then I know there are people who do like allowances and allow, you know, their kids to work for things around the house. Some people don't, but if that's another way to encourage, you know, build up and encourage their saving or whatever it is that they really want. Like sometimes, you know, kids want things, and if you show them that they have to put in the work for it, then they're essentially creating a little mini budget in a way. So that way they can see, you know, the progress. They can see, okay, this is how much I have. This is how much I have left in order to get this new Game Boy or this new, you know, Switch or whatever. So I would say, like, I don't have kids, but I would start them young, and I would show them by example, and I would let them sit down with me and have those money discussions, because as a child, like I definitely didn't have them, and I had to learn as an adult, and it's been a big struggle, but also a huge blessing, because without it, I wouldn't be here talking to you guys about my journey and trying to get out of student loan debt, because that's really what I'm trying to work on right now.
Yeah.
But hopefully I answered that question, because I can't imagine like a child's budget, if they're actually doing a budget, for it to be super extensive unless they're like a teenager. Then if they have jobs, then, you know, they could budget that money out and categorize everything. But if they're really young, like, you still don't shy away from teaching them about money, having those money talks, and involving them with, you know, this is how much I made and this is where my money is going. And sometimes that even helps them like gain gratification and also like understanding of why you can't maybe afford things at the time for them. You know, extra things like toys, or, and it releases the guilt too, you know, it releases the guilt.
So I have 2 teenagers, so I'm on the other spectrum of this question. I've been talking about money since the kids were born, and my money situation has obviously changed since the kids were born. So I have a saver, my son, he saves like crazy. I have a spender, that's my daughter. She thinks she's a saver. She's not.
Guilty. I'm definitely a spender.
I mentioned it when I was talking to Angel. She said the other day, she's like, oh, well, yeah, I'm a minimalist. My husband and I almost fell off our chair. If she has $10, her best friend is Amazon. If she has $30, her best friend is Amazon. But what I do is we give them chores that they do because they contribute to the house and they're members of the house. I'm not paying them to help me with the dishes, from the dishes. But anything extra that I have, you know, that they do to help out, they do get an allowance. And it's a set amount every week. When they do things extra, like we got 17 inches of snow last month, they were all out shoveling, including my little 6-year-old. So they all got extra money for that. So they have an account, then I automatically transfer money to. So because I will forget. I don't know how many times. I feel like the collectors, they come knocking on my door like, Mom, it's been 3 weeks since you gave me my allowance.
They're hitting you up, Debbie.
Oh my gosh, I know, right? They know where I live. So now I have it automatically transferred into their account, and that's their spending money. And I'm trying to push on them, especially my teenagers, because they're so close to going to college, that you know, I want you to count on us to have everything lined up for you, because we started our journey a little later than I would have liked to. And I'm not going to have enough money for them to go to college. I'm going to have enough to help them go to college, to put their own effort in, and I want them to want, because there's nothing, you know, there's nothing that's more motivating and more empowering than to save money for something and then be able to pay for it. So I don't want them thinking this is just going to be handed to them, because it's not. It's not. There's no way. Like, my daughter's less than 2 years away from starting. My son's less than 3 years away from starting. And we just started their 529 out of debt 2 years ago. So we're not going to have enough. So I want them to take ownership of that. My little 6-year-old, on the other hand, if anyone that has little kids out there, she never asks. She's programmed. The answer is no. Unless it's birthday or Christmas, the answer is no. So she always saves her money, like the tooth fairy money, her allowance. You know, she puts it in a little piggy bank in her room. In January, she saw this commercial for this, the Happy Napper. I don't know if you've seen it. It's a pillow that pulls out into a sleeping bag. And so the thing I think I have. Oh my God, $40, and you would have thought it was like made out of gold. I want it. So I went online and I printed a picture of a unicorn, and I put lines throughout it. And it was like a savings chart for her. So she knew every time that she got an allowance, she colored another line in, and once it was done, she knew she had her $40. Right. It just got in the mail here less than a week ago. Now she has a new savings. She wants a little Ariel doll that can swim and change colors. So now she's got a new chart, and she's coloring it in, and she's starting again. Like, I want to show her the value of money now. So hopefully she ends up being my son and wants to save than my daughter, who her last name is Amazon.
Right. You're right. You're right. That's funny.
Oh gosh. That's what the things I've learned as a parent is, like, you can try your best to teach them, but it's how they are and how and what they take. And I'm hoping that as they go up, they get a little bit more frugal and they learn a little bit. Like, I learned without even knowing from my mom. My mom was, you know, she made $1 out of 50 cents, you know? So I'm hoping that they'll take a little bit of that. So as they'll realize how important money is, because you can only give them so much. Because after that, it's just like, wah, 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 you know, and they tune you out. Yeah. And I don't want to be that person that lives to the point where now nothing I say gets absorbed.
All you've been talking about is money, and they're tired of hearing you talk about money.
Yeah.
But
Then they'll definitely be ordering Amazon every week. So, no, I'm good. The next question was Teresa. She said, I seem to budget well, but the category that always makes me charge on a credit card is clothing. What do you suggest? We're at 5.
I would suggest a sinking fund for that. So that's like the first thing I thought about, because for me, like, I don't really spend too much on clothing. I try not to. It's very rare. But I would say start a sinking fund and see like how much you want to spend. I also know that if you're going to be shopping anyways, you can do sales and deals sections. I'm sure that there are a lot of stores that do have, sales and deals for certain things and certain items during a certain period of time during the year. Like, some seasons, like winter, you maybe want to buy some dresses, and then for summer you might want to buy some pants and certain clothing items like that. So opposite and polar to what that season currently is right now. And then I would say besides the sinking fund, besides the spending smartly on trying to save as much as you can with deals and sales, you can also thrift shop. I don't know how many people are willing to do that, but you can find some pretty great things at a thrift store. Like, maybe not during this time are you comfortable, and I totally would understand, but I grew up with thrift store clothing, and honestly, like, I found some of the greatest things. Like, I found a Columbia sweater for like less than $5, a Columbia sweater. I still have it. So it's like little things like that you can find. You just have to, obviously have time when you go to the store to look for those kind of items. But there are some good quality items out there when it comes to thrift stores. And I do know some people love them a good thrift store with some good sales and stuff. But I think that was the few things that I thought about for that question. I might be forgetting one thing, but I can't see my notes. So
I know. For me, I for everyone seasonally, so
yeah,
it's, because the kids stay as not as much me and my husband, like, we'll buy ourselves one or two things a little bit here and there. But when it comes to them, they're growing things, and so, my daughter.
I'm gonna move a little bit. Sorry, I have to get my
fine.
charger, or if not, it's gonna die.
No,
So
that's fine.
I want to make sure that I'm not, leaving you dead here while you're trying to talk to me. Do you want me to like stop the camera for a second when you can talk?
No, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
Okay, I feel so bad, but
no, it's fine.
just want to make sure I'm prepared.
Just reading a comment before we can get started on that. So Kate. Hi, Kate. So she says,
hi.
I remember the first time Caden paid for something himself at the dollar store. He was he was so proud. It's amazing. So now all she's talking about is this Ariel doll, and I'm just like, I can't wait for her to get it. She was stalking the mailman, waiting for her happy napper. So our mailman is like, I don't have it yet. But about the clothing. So what I do is I take inventory pretty much before the season is over of what they have and what. And both like my teenagers like crazy and my little one too. So I take advantage of I look at what they need. I donate whatever they don't need anymore, and then I make like this, like, how many shirts he needs, and I try to see about a coupon too. Like, I always like want to see about coupons. Like one of the stores here, I hope that I don't know anywhere, but Kohl's. They have a great selection. I mean, my son loves it because he loves he loves the Yankees and things like that. His hat, his Giants and whatever. So it's not like it's not like any clothes that like if they're not comfortable in. It's what he will enjoy. But I definitely always go with a coupon. I try to buy things online. I use Rakuten because I save so much money with that too. And give you extra coupon that you can add on to your cart as well. So you're getting 2 coupons and a discount. And then I always try to do it seasonally. And then obviously, like, if you can shop at the end of each season, bigger discount. And that way you're planning ahead. But when you have sprouting teenagers, it's a little hard to do. Like my little Emily, she's right on target. Like she's 16, but kids, as they're growing up into, like, my son is almost as tall as I am. I'm like, oh my God, he's like practically a man. So I can't guess his size next year.
It's hard for sure.
Yeah. So I try my best to use coupons and coupon codes and then just try to only buy what you need, because as you go along, and the more the kids grow, like, the harder it's going to be. But a slush fund is a great way to do it too, by knowing pretty much what you spent last year, by tracking your expenses. It's easier for you now to create a slush fund for the clothing, and easy for you to then take that figure that, seasonally, multiply it by 4, yearly, divide it by 12, and come up with an amount that you want to put in there monthly or paycheck, however you get paid, so that you have extra money set for clothing. So
I think that's what it was. I think it was like Rakuten, like trying to find ways to, while you're already going to be spending, save. And that's a great way to gain some money back.
Mm-hmm.
I've even thought about this, and I actually just bought a sewing kit.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know too many people, or how many people on here on this live right now, or maybe on the replay, who love fashion. And I actually do enjoy fashion. And if you can, muster the strength to learn a new hobby, you can learn to make your own clothes and design your own things. And, that might be a little bit more costly up front at first, but eventually it won't be, something super expensive. Like, I love knitting. I haven't done it in a while, but I had a knitting class that I was able to take a part of in high school, and it was so much fun. I learned how to knit hats, scarves. I did baby booties once for my aunt who was pregnant at the time. So it's like, if you can learn a new skill or a new hobby, and it helps your family out and saves money, why not, right? Even if there's some trial and error in that. If anything that we've learned through COVID is that the time that we have is very precious, and you can do as much as you can for your family while they're here, and learn as much as you can too, because there's so much knowledge out there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. My mother-in-law sent over a package when we opened it up the other day. It was hats that she had knit for girls. And I'm like, it looks like something you bought at the store. It's not even anything, and she just did it on her spare time. It was like, it's amazing. I'm not crafty. I am put me in the kitchen. But if you want me to knit you something, you're not gonna like.
That's funny. Kate, she said, that's so cool that you can knit, Jackie. I've never sewn a button. Eek. And I am learning about buttons, because they're a whole nother separate thing. Obviously, knitting is with 2 needles, and buttons are with a thread and a needle. And so for my husband, I've been trying to button, work on his buttons and stuff for his shirts and things like that. Because you know what? It also adds to who you are. It also adds to who you are to have some different traits, and knowing how to sew a button, and knowing how to knit, and knowing how to even crochet. I know some people do too. It's different from knitting, but similar in some ways. It's like the possibilities are endless.
Absolutely. And Tony, also eBay for clothes is a good idea too. Love me a thrift store. Definitely.
I have found some pretty amazing things. My grandma, she is a huge thrift store shopper, and growing up, she would find coats. She would find gym shoes, brand name, and she would take her time looking. But I mean, let me tell you, she would save money. I mean, yeah, of course she was spending a little bit, but nothing in comparison to when you go to a regular store and, you are going to pay $70 for a pair of Nikes or something, and that's low end.
Yeah, I knew. Yeah, no, that definitely is low end. Oh my gosh, Nikes because of my
child size. If you're lucky and you fit into child size shoes, I envy you. Because I'm a huge 9.5 foot girl over here. So
9.5.
Yeah, I cannot fit into kids' shoes or kid clothes, but that would be amazing.
No, oh yeah, no, definitely. What I was gonna say is I knew an attorney who was single, and she was going to some I don't know if it was a wedding or a special occasion. She bought a dress on eBay, and she got it delivered to the firm, and she put it on, and it looked like something that was just made for her. I'm like, what fits you? that's a great way of doing it too. Shop online.
Yep. If you know your size.
Yes, if you know your
and
size,
your family
absolutely.
sizes too.
Oh my God. Okay, so let me move on to the next one. I can have you on here. So Game Streamers asked, he said, I'm a college student that wants to start budgeting and my job is only part-time. I suggest I get started. We have one credit card with $1,000 balance. What do you think?
So I would say focus on your 4 walls is the first few categories for that beginning budget. But before then, I would even encourage you to print out your bank statements so that way you can see like what you spend and what categories you're spending that money on, like how much. And then you can come up with your own categories for your own personal budget and, you know, find what works best for you because it's going to be different for everybody. And then with it being a part-time job, I was thinking like you can do a bare bones budget. So to me, that's like the most basic budget that you can have and still live off of. That way, you know, you can lowball your income. And if you get more money for that, you know, that particular paycheck, whether that's biweekly, weekly, or monthly, then you're able to, you know, kind of go and budget that amount extra. But you can do a bare bones. So like bare bones, like the least amount of categories that you can have. And even if you know, can avoid sinking funds and you can put it off for a little bit, then I would encourage you to do that as well. As far as like the 4 walls, you would do that. And then you would also come up with the amounts for those things, obviously, depending on your situation. And then add additional things eventually once you've kind of gotten a little bit of an understanding of how much you're going to be making from your part-time. If it varies, you can, like I said, lowball it because my income varies. Every paycheck is different depending on the amount of days in that paycheck, and I get paid bi-weekly. So for me, like I kind of ballpark it like, okay, this paycheck had 10 days, so it's going to be a shorter paycheck. So it's going to be, you know, $800, $900. This paycheck was a 12-day paycheck. It's very rare, and I'm going to get more than $1,000. So that's a way that you can try to, in terms of part-time or variable expense, like variable income, you can try to figure that out like that. And then I would say research, because you're going to learn a lot when you type in how to create a budget, and some things are going to be for you and some things are not going to be for you. And then obviously it's a trial and error. That's another thing too, because it does take a lot of patience. It does take trying to figure out what works best for you and your situation and your personal finances. And then the last thing I was going to say, if I can remember what I had written on there, was pay off that credit card. Like it's only $1,000. And what it sounds like, if that's the case and you don't have any additional debt, then slowly pay, you know, if you can aggressively pay that off on your part-time and make a way for a few months to pay that off, or however long it takes you, then do so. If you need to start off small, then you can do that as well. But it's totally up to you. But $1,000, like it is a lot of money, but at the same time, like if that's the only amount you have, get it out of there, so that way you can build on other things like your saving and, you know, trying to come up with your slush funds and you know, kind of filling those out even more. So it really releases a lot of your income into being something that's held up by your debt, even if it's $1,000 credit card, because I don't know, like even the interest rate with that question. So, you know, the APY, like it might be expensive. So if it's costing you, then it's best to just, I would say, eliminate it altogether and then work your budget, see what works for you, research. And if you need to do bare bones for a little while, print out your bank statements and then get that credit card out. That's what I would say.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you said. My thing is like if he's a college student, like my mind went to like, and he would have given us a little more information, although what he said was great, is if he's a college student, he might be dorming. And if he's dorming, and hopefully that's what it is, then all his living expenses are pretty much for, you know, with tuition. And if that's the case, then I think it's more about like tracking his part-time job coming in, and then obviously cutting down if he is dorming and he's anything like my when they were dorming, they're constantly out at parties, right? At parties, eating out with their friends. Like maybe you
Yeah.
cut that down. Not only track how much money is coming in, because even if it's part-time, it's still adding up to a lot if your living expenses are paid for, you know? And if that's the case, then just track the expenses that you have coming in, and then be able to look at how much you're spending and then see if you can cut that down. And if that's possible, then take that amount and throw it at that $1,000 credit card, because $1,000 might be a lot, but like you said, like if his interest rate is high, you know, $1,000 will turn into like 1,500 before you know it, you know.
And it. Mm-hmm.
But
No, go ahead.
no, that's what I was gonna say.
Oh.
$1,000 you know, might have come in because he's dressing up, you know, going out with his friends or her friends.
Yeah.
Streamers.
No,
it's a guy.
for sure. Like the college life, right? We're all trying to live it up, and
you know, he wants to dress. He wants to go out with his friends. He wants to, like, you know, like hang out, like meet people, and you know, whatever else. And I just think like if that's the case, and his part-time job might be like a steady income, but he doesn't have expenses, in that case, you have to always look at everything that goes out the door, especially because that $1,000 credit card is gonna turn into 2 credit cards. That's what happened to me in college. I didn't know about credit cards, and I started getting credit card applications. And the next thing you know, I'm like, you know, like my friends are like, oh, I went to the, you know, to the mall, and you know, and I bought like $200 worth of clothes, and I only have to pay $15 a month. I'm like, oh, that thing is awesome. I know because my parents never had it. They didn't have a credit card, so I'm the first generation credit card debtor.
Woo! Honestly, it's kind of nice when you meet people that are doing things differently, because for me, like, I didn't grow up with family members who use credit cards like that either. And I don't use credit cards right now, at least. But maybe eventually, and this is a conversation that I've actually had with my husband, because I was like, I can't do it. I will never get a credit card. And he's like, well, how are you going to build this? And how are you going to, you know, how are you going to be able to afford this? How are you going to be able to show that this is something that you're in good standing with if you don't have anything to kind of like back you up? And so like even his perspective on it with the whole, like, if you have the money and you're responsible, you can use a credit card to your advantage. And that's something that like I just would shy away from for so long, because I was like, no, it's more debt. It's more debt. Like, you know, it's the typical what you hear everybody teach you, like, don't get credit cards, don't get credit cards. And like, of course, if you are being wise, you've learned the skill of managing your money, and you come far in your journey, and you don't have any, I mean, you could have debt, I guess, and still be using them. But if you are smart with your money and you've learned lessons on money and you're applying those every day, you know, you have a budget, you're disciplined, you're consistent, then you're going to be able to manage a credit card well too, and even get perks, because there are perks to credit cards that, you know, not a lot of people talk about, or a lot of people might shy away from, because like me, I cannot handle an idea of getting into further debt by potentially getting a credit card.
I've been wanting to do a credit card. Let me know what you think. I've been wanting to do a live about credit cards, because I've been in both spectrums. Like, I've been the naive person that charges things and thinks that she only has to pay like once a month, like back in college, you know, and then get such credit card debt, you know, and 2 car loans on top of it. And now I use them. And I mean, I don't want to get into it too much, but like Christmas fund, I got $1,000 in credit card rewards that I used for the gifts, and it pretty much took care of my Christmas gifts. You know, like much fun, yes, for Christmas, but because I got the cards to give me cash back on things that are in my budget. Like, I don't go shopping, but my groceries, like I use my credit card, 3% back on groceries. You know,
right
at the end when I get that bill, because it's the amount that I budget and I don't go over my grocery budget, which many of you see in my grocery budgets, you know, 180, like I'm so stable with 180. So when I get that credit card bill, it's completely paid for. Like I don't carry a balance the next month. They don't gain any interest from me, and 3% back on every time that I use my grocery. Gas, same thing. Like gas on my car, I don't use my debit card. I use my credit card. I already have it in my budget. It gets paid every month at the end of the month.
Right.
I got now 2% back on gas. Like there are rewards but I like Angel and I touched on that last week. That I think there are rewards and there are advantages to having a credit card, but it's all about how you use it. Because if you're a spender, if you're a natural spender, which again, I'm not judging anyone like at all. Like we all have different roads. But if you need to know yourself because you're a spender, then I feel like then that is not the right, maybe not the right way for you to do things. Like for me, because I'm the opposite. Like every time I have to spend money, I'm like, spend money.
And maybe you're not good with money right now, but you can get good with money. And once you do, and you have the amount of money that you're spending to back you up, then a credit card sounds like the way to go, in a lot of different ways. So I do, and I have seen a lot of like those, get this credit card and you get this much percentage points for opening, or this much percentage points for using it, like cash back every single time you use. So I do think that there is good and bad to credit cards. Absolutely. But I love how Granny Prepper said, I use credit cards. They don't use me.
Granny Prepper. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's a great way of.
I was gonna look right now for the comments. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's a great way.
Like, I enjoy her so much. When she's on here. No, absolutely. So, like, the reason why I hesitate on doing, and I know I'm gonna end up doing it sooner or later because the topic keeps coming back to it every time I do a live on any financial things. Things always go back to credit cards. Like this question is because I don't want to encourage someone to their debt. Like that's the reason why I have to kind of like make sure like I word things correctly, because the last thing I want to do is have someone who is a natural spender like say, oh, Debbie said like I get 3% back on groceries and 2% back on this, and next thing you know she's be like, thanks, like I'm $1,000 in debt now. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
But
I get what you mean.
If you know yourself and you know that you can do it, and you are a person that sticks to the budget and you know exactly how much you spend, credit cards can really help you. I don't want to veer off because I want to get to the next question, but I gotta make you laugh. So I came to this relationship into my marriage with debt, and I've said this a million times, but it's so true. And my credit rating was horrible. It was horrible because of my financial circumstances, because of my personal circumstances before my husband. So he got me on track. He showed me how to budget, and we are where we are now thanks to him and showing me the way. But my credit rating went from the lowest. It could have been a negative. I don't even know. Like it was a number. I think it was like a 2. Like it was like
a 2. I don't know if that's possible.
If it was possible, it was bigger. And I went from that to we're starting to refinance our mortgage to get a lower rate, and I'm not extending it by a day. It's literally still the same, lower rate, so we can save. We saved $42,000 at the end of the mortgage by doing that. So I'm like, yeah, absolutely. But when I was talking to the rep, he says to me, he's like, "You're a budgeter." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a budgeter. How'd you know?" And because I knew my numbers off the top when he was asking me things. And he goes, your credit score is 5 points higher than your husband's, right? I was like, oh,
wow. You're like, yay. I did it.
He had a perfect score when I met him. Like, and
wow.
And for years later to like, that's what I'm saying. Like, this is possible for anyone to be where, we're now and further on. The people that look at me and be like, oh, you're only there. Like, I've got 100,000 in my 401k, like I said.
Yeah, no, but every accomplishment.
That was my point. So. Yeah,
every accomplishment that you do in whatever that you partake in, like it's a huge thing. It's something to celebrate. So I remember you talking about that, because I think I did definitely watch your live with
Angel. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, with Angel. Yeah. That's right. I could call her Ashley, but I'm like, I don't think that's it. Yeah, I watched your guys live, so it was a good one, and I love the topic too.
I'm telling you, I went downstairs. I felt like I floated to go into my husband's office, be like, guess what? Like,
so this happened.
Like, or anything, but
yeah.
So Amy says, so she said, "Hi, Debbie. I'm so glad you brought up this topic. Here's my question. My husband and I are just about an emergency fund. and we are credit card debt free. Yay! Now,
Woohoo.
unfortunately, we had an emergency pop up where we have to do a home renovation that's going to cost us $1,000. I want to get out of our emergency fund. He wants to charge it on a credit card. We normally agree on everything. He feels like we worked so hard to finally have an emergency fund that he doesn't want to have to take a third of it, this expense. What are your thoughts?
Okay,
These are the
so
hard ones. These are the hard
they
ones.
are. They are. Okay.
These are the
So
hard
the first, they are definitely the harder ones. Like the first thing that I was thinking about was a marriage is full of compromise, and obviously like only you know who you're with and what their triggers are, you know how to address them, and how to talk about certain topics. And so I would say like maybe coming together and continuing to have those conversations about, okay, this is what we need to do, this is how much it's going to cost, and like where do you, obviously you fall on this and why do you fall on this end, like explain it to me, and then I fall on this end and I will explain it to you, and I will tell you why I think we should use our emergency fund, you tell me why you think we should use a credit card, and see what's going to be best in the long run. Obviously, like sometimes it is an amazing idea to use your emergency fund, but if you know that your money and your income is tight, and like you got a good amount of money that's going to be coming in a few months, or you have a high income for between the both of you, then maybe putting it on a credit card and paying that off eventually, even if it takes a few months, might be a better idea. But then again, if you have an emergency fund, it is there for an emergency, so that's kind of where I was falling in, is that for me, I would want to avoid any extra debt. But if you are somebody that has managed your money, about those money, thing, you budget, you manage your money well, you've learned lessons as it pertains to your financial situation, you've cleaned up your money problems, and now moving forward, like you're able to decide, you have a decision, and that's amazing. There's a choice. You have a choice. It isn't just you have to get it on a credit card. There's a choice between you using your emergency fund and you using the credit card. And so I would say, like, it sounds like they're obviously on different ends, but you can continue to expand on that conversation between the both of you and come to the decision as to what is going to be the best results, because it is tough. Having those conversations is never easy. And like I said, in my personal opinion, I think I would fall under using the emergency fund, but that's just me and who I am, and it's sitting there. So that's what it's there for. But like I said, if you make good money and both of you guys make good money, and you can see that amount that you're going to be spending for the house renovation to be paid off in a few months, and you don't have to tap into the emergency fund, why not? But I kind of get both sides. I do, because if I, like, with my $5,000 emergency fund that I built in 2021, 2020, actually, not 2021, 2020, I was so happy. And also, like, I never want to touch it. I never want to use it. Like, and that's just with, the amount that I've put aside, because I know for me how much it takes to save $5,000. And it's not something easy, And the beautiful thing, though, is if they do go with using the emergency fund, they can always rebuild that up once the home renovations are over. So either way, like, you're going to get your home remodeled. Either way, you've been out of credit card debt. So you've done it once, you can do it again. And I mean, work together and have those money talks.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to get to the question. I'm gonna get to the comments, because these comments are popping as you're talking. Okay, here's Wanda. Wanda's another one. She's got great comments. So, homeowners insurance cover any of it? Wanda, great question. That's a great question. Eileen, I love Eileen. So she says half on credit card, half on the emergency fund. Okay. Here's Angel. If it were me, I think I'd use the emergency fund. But again, that's why personal finance is personal, right? That's what I kept saying last week. And it's funny. My husband's like, you said it 3 times. I'm like, yeah, but it's totally personal. When I read Amy's question, like I like the hairs in the back of my neck stood up because I was there. I was there. Personal emergency fund, I talked about it last week. It was a little bit of a stickler for me, my husband. And since he compromises so much, I gave in on that because, like, you know, I follow what Dave Ramsey like does things as far as like, you know, steps, you know, which I attribute to where we are now, you know, ish, like which is what Angel and I talked about last week. Now, I wanted our emergency fund to be 4 to 6 months. He wanted it to be 8 months because that's how long it takes him to get a new job. If God forbid, I feel like knocking on wood right now, he lost his job, right? So I gave in on that. The difference between 6 months and 8 months for me felt like years. It felt like years because I was just like, oh my God, when is this going to be over? Because you're so close. That's what happens when you're so close to getting your financial goal. And you're like, okay, like how long am I going to be doing this? Like, I don't think I'm pulling out my hair. Like how long, you know? So what happened was we were weeks, like it was like 2 pages away from topping it. And I knew it. Like I was like, I'm getting this done. And then June of last year, we had a water pipe that burst outside in the backyard. And I looked at and we had a lot of rain. And I looked at my husband and I said, you know, why does it look like the wall's leaking? And he was like, he's like, oh, it's probably like you know, the gutters are full, so the siding. And I was like, you know, like you hear something, and women were very intuitive. You know, we have a lot of intuition. And I'm like, I don't know. No. So the next day, my daughter's in the basement. She's like, the carpet's flow. The water is coming out of everywhere. Like the carpet, like you could see your feet when the water was splashing up. This water pipe that was like a pinhole took my bathroom downstairs and my basement. Like it took it out. We went from being 2 paychecks away from fully funding our emergency fund to having to use most of it for the home improvement to get the all done while arguing with our homeowners insurance as to like how much they were going to pay for it. So when Wanda said homeowners insurance, like that's exactly where I was. We got, I'm going to say 80% we spent, we got it back after arguing, but it's 6 months to get that check. Like when I tell you, like, I was like, I work for attorneys. I'm not an attorney, but I swear I felt like one. I'm like putting my putting my hair up in a bun. I'm like, you listen to me. Like I know. I mean, fought them, and so when we got it, I felt great, but at the same time, I'm like, great. Now we're 20 our emergency fund was gone, plus the other week, so that turned into an additional 3 months or almost 4 months back to get it to where we are now. But for me, that's what we did, and we didn't do anything on a credit card because I just felt like we've gotten so far, like to go back now and put a big amount on a credit card and then have to then once again not be able to afford to pay that off and then have to then pay more than the minimum and what you can at it. I feel like I'd gone back 4 years, and so I was like, you know, I can't do that. So it hurt like out of our emergency fund. That's my advice to that, is I'm sure they've worked so hard to get out of the credit card debt and to have a fully funded emergency fund. That's what it's there for. I agree with you. That's my opinion. These are the
that's my
questions
opinion too.
You know that there's someone listening that's like going, you know, like Amy's turning to her husband right now and she's like, you see, you know.
I mean, and that's the thing, like I am very careful with giving advice, because
that's
I think like
since I was there, I felt like I could say that, you know what I mean? But because I know what
because like I've right, and like I've never been there. Like we don't own a home, but I do think like it is worthy of having those discussions and continuing to have them. And I never want to like advise anybody to like sow dissension between a marriage, because I think you're stronger as a pair, even when you disagree.
Absolutely.
So I would say like whatever you decide to do, there's honestly no wrong answer.
Yeah.
It's just it's going to hurt either way. And it's going to hurt either way.
Yeah. And it's where you want to be. Like personal, like I've cried because of money, like because I didn't have it. And then I've cried because we've got out of debt. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not like weeping 24/7. I'm not like an emotional mess.
Not anymore. No, I'm just kidding.
It takes a hold of you one way or another, whether you're struggling or whether you're succeeding in anything. Any little step is a success. So like to me, it's like I would never tell someone what to do with their money either. I just lied because like I know what it was like to be there. And man, those additional 4 months, I'm telling you, Jackie, it felt like a year. I was just like, when is this ever gonna be over? Now can we do 6 months? And he's like, no, come on. All right, no, 8 months. Okay, that's fine. I agree.
I mean, it's better to save for a longer period, than
it is.
to
No, it is.
than to have those shorter.
Absolutely, but when you see it, when you see how close you are, and then you have something like that happen that sets you back, it sucks. It sucks.
It is. It's hard, and I would even think like some people would have like a separate like Murphy sinking fund, like when Murphy comes, maybe not calling it that, but like renaming it something like that, similar. That way, in case an expense does come, maybe it could be like just like a rainy day fund, you know what I mean? Instead of your actual emergency fund. But yeah, I thought that question was really interesting. And I was like, oh, I don't know. I feel like I should say like, sway my way and be very careful with how I answer it. But even though I don't.
Questions when it's like, we're not agreeing on this. What do you think? Like, he can't afford this. I get them pretty often. Like, he can't afford this. Like, can you tell him? And I'm just like,
yeah, like not really.
Person that can help you with that. Once in a while, I'm like, oh, but Granny Pepper's got a funny one.
Yeah.
She says, use the credit card, get the points, and pay it off when he's not looking. LOL.
That's so funny. Granny Pepper is hilarious. I've definitely heard her name before. I don't know if I'm on her YouTube channel yet, so I'll like subscribe if I'm not. But I haven't ever owned a home like for us, obviously as a couple, but we did obviously have a childhood home. And the crazy thing, like my family didn't know how to manage money, so it got foreclosed, and then we had to move. So when I say like I didn't know anything about money, like I mean I knew nothing about money, and it really plays a role even when you're in a relationship and you're in a marriage. The way you see things, that scarcity mindset, all those things. Oh, she says she doesn't have a channel yet. Oh, okay.
I was gonna say, so I didn't want to interrupt you.
That's okay. I thought she did because I've definitely I've seen her name in a few people's lives and stuff like that, or being mentioned. I've heard her being mentioned.
Oh, I'm constantly mentioning her. She's awesome. No, but no, I agree with you. The scarcity mindset was where I was, like in when I came into this marriage, and he was like, we could do this. Like we could do this. Like I'm the one that brought the debt in. Like I'm the one that felt like I was suffocating, bringing him along with me. And it's just, and it's very important. Like one thing I wanted to say to Amy's question, it's just to make decisions together. Absolutely. And have like money meetings and like, and share your successes, like, cry together, like be happy together, celebrate together. Like that's what my husband and I do. Whenever like I'm in the budget and I throw something in an account and I'm really like, hey, come here, check this out. Like, so it's like, and that's what builds like the team that's going to succeed together. So.
Yeah. And I was thinking too, like, even though we have never had a house, like, okay, I'm getting back to the idea. I have thought about using my emergency fund to pay off student loans. I've been like, it's sitting there, like, and I'm in debt. Like, should I just do it? And then I was like, wait, but what if an emergency happens? So it's like, it's going back, a lot of going back and forth. There's a lot of like decisions like that, where it's,
and you
sway and you're like, okay, am I making the right call? Absolutely. Is this the best decision? And you kind of have to evaluate yourself too. Like, okay, where am I coming from and why I want to, pursue this and why I want to do it this way. But yeah, like I've definitely have thought like, okay, that money is just sitting there. Like it's just sitting there and like it's nice and it's there for an emergency, but I mean, that is an emergency.
When we had to write a check out and I had because I have all the accounts that are linked, so I can just do automatic transfers. You don't know how many times my husband, it's just sitting there. Like those words are like ringing, like as you're saying it, I'm like, it's bringing me back. And I'm like, it's just sitting there. We should move it into like an electronic bank and have like, you know, high interest savings, you know, high yield savings. You can like earn interest on it. And this is something that it should work for our favor. And then like the more we thought about it, the more we kept coming back to the conclusion, like, yeah, but if we need it right away, like we'd have to wait to transfer it back in, or weeks. I don't know how that works, you know, but since it's all linked together, it was literally like 5 seconds. So like when I had to start writing checks out for the renovation contractor and, you know, supplies and everything else, it was literally a matter of 5 seconds. Like go log on, transfer, and you're done. So because of that, like I was glad that we didn't do other decisions that we could have done with, like you said, like there's always like it's sitting there, like what if I make it work for me, and what if I think like everyone, that's why it's personal, because everyone has to take their circumstances into account. And I'm glad that we didn't do that, because when we did it, it was pretty much as soon as we had the people hired, it was pretty much like boom, 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 need this, need a carpet, this one, blah, blah, blah. And I was constantly making transfers. So, and seeing that account deplete, fuck.
It does.
My vocabulary to cover
it does suck. It does suck. Debt sucks. You know, having to use your emergency fund sucks. All of those things do suck. One of the biggest,
like you feel it. Like you feel it.
Yeah,
like every
it's an emotional attachment for sure.
Yeah,
because you gain a sense of
security of having it. So when you have to use it, so that's why I felt bad telling Amy, like, yes, like my opinion is, yeah, because you don't want to take 2 steps back, is my opinion. But obviously everything is personal, and you know, whatever the decision that they make, as long as they make it together, I think it's going to be a good one. So
I agree, as long as they make it together.
Yeah. So Robert said, let me see here. He's funny. He's always asking. Whenever I put in a question, Robert's the first ones that asked me, which is awesome. So he said, he goes, "Hi Debbie." He goes, "You know, when you ask for a question, you get them. LOL." He said, "My wife and I have been saving money in your money challenge. I've been doing in my grocery hauls. It just started off my first video. I wasn't doing like a money challenge to like motivate anyone else, but I get questions, you know, like really, like how much can you save from groceries? It's like the question like once in a while, like you know, $5 here, $10 there. Like, does that really add up to anything? So I wanted to know how like I'm able to stay under my weekly budget and take the rest of the money between that and what I budget and be able to set it aside." So I did my first video, and the comments I got on YouTube and on Instagram were, I was like, wow, like people want that. Like they want a way to save that's simple. And that's how I keep it as simple as possible. So once I saw that, then they were like, you should make this a challenge. You should make this a challenge, was like the comments. So I was like, okay, like, so that's when I started my challenge, which is what he's referring to. So he says, "My wife and I have started saving money in your money challenge and have been applying it to our debt. Some paychecks we get, we can pay extra towards debt, but sometimes we feel credit card balances don't at all. How do you suggest we get out of debt faster and pay it off and pay off the credit cards when some paychecks aren't I'm sorry. So there's not a lot of extra money, and some we have more."
Okay, so when I was thinking about this question, it's Robert, right?
Yes.
Oh, he sounds like a fun guy. And I was a little confused about the money challenge, because I was like, I don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, no, I know. I should have known what that was.
But
yeah.
As far as like the months that you make more money and you're able to throw more into your debt, those are the months you need to capitalize on. As far as the months where you don't make as much, you do what you can, and that's all that you can do. So that's what I would say is, like, when I was thinking about it, like the months that he does, they both, or he alone, I'm not sure. But no, he has somebody else, right? So like when, because yeah. So when you have those higher months where you earn higher income, then that's when you really want to make sure you're taking advantage of that money and putting as much as you can extra towards whatever it is that you want to do. Did he say he was paying off debt? Is that what he was doing?
Yeah.
Okay. And then
he said he feels like sometimes our credit don't move at all.
And then
suggests that we pay that off faster.
So okay, and then another thing I was gonna say is for the smaller income days or months or paychecks, then still make a payment, even if it can't be extra. Like any amount counts. And that's something I say a lot. Like any little bit counts. $5, $10, $15, $20. Like it all makes a difference because you're throwing it towards your debt. It all adds up. It all decreases that amount for what you owe. And I definitely, when I read it too, I was thinking like, man, he's talking about me, because I felt like, one, I have a variable income. Two, my student loan debt is insurmountable. It's twice as much as when I first started, as any college student. So I had double of the average, basically. And I was like, man, sometimes you don't feel like it's moving. You don't feel like it's going down. You don't feel like there's no progress, even though you're throwing that money in there. And especially when there's interests that are being daily acquired every single day. Like when there's interest, I can talk about interest all day. Like interests are like annoying, sickening. I want to vomit, because it's a huge way of capitalizing on somebody else's money and keeping them into further debt.
Which is the whole point.
Keeping them into further debt, because a lot of, even with student loans, like the projected date that they have is like 10 years later. It's like 2030. I'm like, hell no, you're not going to get my income for 10 years. Like I will aggressively pay you down. Like, yeah, that might mean sacrifices. Yeah, that might mean extra hours at work if I can. Yeah, that might mean side hustles. But you know what? It's going to get paid off, and any little bit makes a difference. Whenever I can save in groceries, whenever I can save in whatever amount it is. Usually you can't save on rent because it is what it is, right? But there are people who negotiate even rent too. So, I mean, there's no harm in negotiating every single thing that you have as far as expenses. Because the worst thing that you're going to hear somebody say is no. The best thing you're going to hear somebody say is, yes, let's do it. So I would say, like, even those slow moving income amounts, still go for it. Still do what you can. See what you can afford to put down, even on those smaller paychecks. And then the bigger ones, go hard. That's what I would encourage. And I'm there. I'm currently there right now. Like, I understand how that progress might not reflect right away, but you think back a year, 2 years ago, and you're like, ooh, I had $75,000 worth of debt, and now I have, $55,000, and that's almost $25,000 less. So it's a huge difference. Like, and every little amount that I've put on those student loans, even with daily interest rates, has added up.
Yep. What I was going to say is, there's different ways, there's different theories of how to pay off debt. There's Snowball, I've talked about, there's AVALANCHE, and there's the Snowflake method, which so just quickly to help him out, the Snowball method is what I use at a really high interest card. So I put that first. And then once I finally, that was my biggest obstacle. Once I finally paid that off, because the interest rate was insane. Then I did that Snowball. That Snowball is listing your debt's lowest amount, not interest rate, nothing to do with interest rate. So it's the lowest amount to the highest amount, and then you pay the minimums on everything else except for the one on top. The one on top, you pack it, and then once you pay that off, then you do the same thing to the next one and the next one, and you'll see, and you get motivated because you see that that's being paid off faster. So if your interest rates are pretty much, that would be the way that I would suggest it. If your interest rates are all over the place, then maybe you might want to think of the AVALANCHE, which is the exact same thing, but instead of balances, you're looking at the interest you're paying. So you're looking at the highest interest, you're paying that off first to the lowest interest, because that saves you money overall. But that is a longer pay period to do normally, because normally you're not looking at the amount you owe. So by the time you go to the one on the bottom that has the least amount, it's probably the one that also has the least balance. So it might take you a little longer. So you have to know yourself as to how to do that. The Snowflake method is whatever is left over, and you throw it and you throw it and you throw it, even if it's little increments at a time, until the debt's paid off. So depending on what kind of debt you have, credit cards, whether interest rates are pretty much similar, or or they're all over the place. Like my highest one, Jackie, was 21% interest. In New Jersey, the highest
Wow.
interest you could have was 23. Like,
Wow.
talk
I
about
thought
high with rock.
6%.
You know, I took that one. I put it on the top. I was like, and when that one was over, I'm telling you, we celebrated. We went out to dinner, and we don't normally go out to dinner. I went to a fancy restaurant. I am celebrating this because it took us forever to pay that off. So I know exactly how that is. But those are different ways of doing it. And one thing too is like if you're a visual person, like take a snapshot of your credit card, like make like a list, a snapshot of it with your phone, so that when you feel like you're not making progress, look at where you were. Like you said, look at where you were like a month or two down the line. I do that with certain things that I feel like I'm not gaining traction on, in life. Like, I'll take a picture, I'll take a a snapshot of something, so I can look back and it's timestamped, so you can see exactly like where you were 3 months from now, or 6 months ago, so that you can actually feel motivated to keep going. So I thought that was a good question.
No, it was a great question, and it got my wheels turning for sure. Props to Robert, because he came up with some good questions, but I definitely thought, like, I've been there. I've definitely been there. That is the epitome of me right there. Like, variable income, low income, and still working the baby steps. But that's what I would say. Keep at it. Don't give up. And if there are ways that you can increase your income on those like smaller months, then definitely that's another way to do it too.
Great point. Absolutely. I was looking at some comments here. Eileen Lesser, going back one question. I didn't know this, so I always learn from her. So she said the electronic accounts take at least 48 hours to get the money. I never knew that, because those banks that offer high interest are normally the banks around the corner. They're the one online. So
I was gonna say, I have a high yield savings account.
You do? And if you needed it for your checking account, would it be something like hours?
So I have $1,000 like in a pinch, like if I need it, to move it from my savings to my checking, and then the other remaining 4,000 right now is sitting in the high yield. And so if I ever needed it, it'll be transferred, and hopefully I won't need it. Sorry about that. Hopefully I won't need it for those 2 days, but I feel like it's very rare, which obviously I can't predict life, so I wouldn't know when I would need to use it. But I also think, like, I am somebody that keeps things very minimalistically, and fortunately I haven't had to use it, so it's sitting there. A liquid one is sitting there, and a non-so liquid one is sitting there as well. And hopefully I can see those interests start, because I actually just opened it in February.
Nice. I hope it does. So that's my husband. I keep thinking, like, okay, we're going to go back to that, and we're going to start looking whenever we can, but maybe like taking like a third of it and doing that, and then keeping something there just in case we need it for anything. So here's Vida. So she said, you go, Jackie. So right. We can't pay school loans forever.
It's crazy. They're talking about 2030 and 2031. I'm like, no, like, that's crazy. Like, I'm not going to be paying that off for that long. And you're not going to continue to be in my pockets. Like,
I know attorneys. I used to work 4 years ago. Like, I'm going to be paying student loans, my student loans the rest of my life. And I was just like, oh my God, and they're very successful, They have their own practices and everything. And they're saying that. I'm like, oh my God.
It's because of this though, Debbie. I think you can make a good amount of money, but if you don't know how to manage it, it doesn't matter.
I see that all the time. In my job, clients that make like 6 figures, and they're talking about like they're talking, I'm gonna get a raise. I'm getting a bonus, and I'm like, oh, you are? And no, it's really money that they were taking out of their 401k. I would never say it to a client. I had like, you 6 figures and you think that's a bonus? Like, that's not a bonus. Like, you're ripping yourself off, but because their lifestyle doesn't match their income, even though they make 6 figures. I'm just like, I feel bad. I'm like, if they were to just like do what we do, and like I've said it before many times, like I have clients that come in that make $20,000 a year, and they know every cent of where it goes, and they have their finances down tight.
Yeah.
6 figures. They have ponds in their backyard that they have to pay for maintenance. I'm like, you have a koi pond in your backyard, but you have like twice the amount that you make every year. You have to put that out in credit cards. Like, I I personally, I could never live like that. Like I feel like when I'm doing their budgets, and again, I'm not judging them. It's just how I take it myself. Like I feel like I can't breathe. I'm like
No,
I don't understand it. I don't understand.
because I think like sometimes we're very delusional over our situations, and we don't, it's hard to really, it's hard to open our eyes to things and be like, oh, like this is the debt that I have. This is how much I make. And even though I make a lot of money, like I have, a keeping up with the Joneses, a fear of missing out. Like I have all these things, and I have nothing to show forth for that income as far as like being at peace. Because I mean, it's nice to have all those materialistic things, but I mean, it's honestly pointless. It really is, like in my opinion. And that's something I've learned is like, even with, I've been tempted, like, oh, I want a new, smartphone or whatnot. And I have an Android. And when I got my phone, I was debating between getting a Android or a smartphone. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go with the Android. Like, it's not worth the $1,000. It's not worth, me spending that much, because that money could be going towards my saving, or it could be going towards my debt. And it's just like weighing those options. I feel like maybe when people have a high income, they don't really weigh the options. They don't, kind of think about like, they don't think about like, oh, like I make a lot of money. I don't know where it goes, but I'm not going to take the further step that I need to, because it takes a strong person to see your financial situation all the time and to really assess it and like to do something about it with an action behind it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm looking at these comments real quick. So one, going back to it, she says, late fees kill people too. My friend is having trouble catching up with her rent for late fees. Oh my God. So that's what's so important. Like you were just saying, it's so important to have your financials right and know what you have coming in and going out.
I kind of want to ask Wanda if her friend can somehow apply for rental help right now during this time with the late fees. I don't know if she can or not, but I know a lot of, people are suffering, and a lot of people have unfortunately been kicked out of their homes and their rental facility where they live. So I can't imagine that. I feel like I'm so fortunate and blessed, even with all that I have going on. Like, even when I sometimes feel like, oh, I wish I want more and I could make more and I could do more. But it's like really seeing those kind of comments is like, wow, like I have a place, it's stable. I know we're going to pay our rent, our jobs, I know are going to be there. I mean, they potentially can not be there, but as far as we've both been making income during COVID, and I know that's not the case for a lot of people. A lot of people are losing their homes. A lot of people are getting kicked out of where they live and becoming homeless or having to live in a homeless shelter. And it really puts into perspective that appreciation and gratitude for all the little things.
And not just that, honestly, but I really feel like that's why our exist. You know what I mean? Like I started my channel to help people because I realized like how you can get out of debt. You know what I mean? And I wish I would have started my channel earlier, so I could have shown how we did. And when I have channels like you and channels like AIM channel, like like that show, like per paycheck, how to do it. Like I'm like, man, I wish I would have done it earlier. But channels like ours, like and so many of the people here on the chat, like we have great channels, and I'm not saying me, I'm talking about you guys, because we motivate people and we make people think about the money that comes in and how to use it and how to minimize your expenses so that you can make a difference in your life and teach your children how to live better than you did. So
yeah.
Here, one second. Vita, making more money, making more income was definitely a plus on my financial journey while still cutting expenses. Vita's another great channel, like I was just mentioning. She's one of them. Angel's channel. Here we go. My budget. She's another one. If you guys don't know her channel, please go check all these lovely ladies out. They're awesome. Let me see here.
I think I'm subscribed to like almost all of them.
Yeah, they're great. They're great. I love it. We just really motivate each other. Oh, Natasha. Oh my gosh, what a beautiful name. In New York City, you can't get for late. Landlords can only sue you for rental arrears. Wow. It's where we are now. A good point, Natasha. Thank you so much for saying that. Yeah. So I've kept you here for an hour and a half, so I'm going to show you the last one. I can't believe it.
Listen, I don't mind it. I don't mind it. My husband called me, but that's okay. He knows I'm on this live, and he knows, like, listen, I'm trying to network with all the people that I can. I'm trying to, really get highlight, some important tips and some important conversations and help others, and hopefully it comes around full circle for everybody. Everybody can, I say everybody can be fed, because I have knowledge, and when I have knowledge, I want to share it with everybody, and I don't want to keep it to myself. It would be selfish to do so, and a disservice to everybody too.
We all learn from each other. And that's what's great about this community, honestly. Absolutely. And from these wonderful subscribers, these questions, which are fantastic. So
your subscribers are definitely here for the long haul, because we're here for an hour, 35 minutes, and they're still commenting, and there's still people on here, and I'm sure people will rewatch and look at everything, and hopefully they enjoy it, and it adds value to them. That's the biggest thing that I try to do in every video that I come across, or I comment wise. I tell them, I hope it added value to your life. Like, I hope it changes things for you. I hope it opens your eyes up, because I was asleep for a long time, and I feel like now I'm awake, and I want everybody to be awake too.
Absolutely. And I lit up when you talked about my subscribers. I love them. They're amazing. The comments that I get everywhere, and the encouragement that I get, and I actually helping people, which is the whole point of this. Honestly, it's the whole point of this, and meeting great people like you and others that I've had on my channel. Like, it's just a great thing. But yeah, no, my subscribers are awesome.
They are, because they came through with these questions. Like, the people on my IG look at my stuff, but they don't really comment. So really? I'm trying to work on that. Yeah, like, I don't know. They don't really say too much. So
I had subscribers like reach out to me on Instagram, and they're like, I'm at the supermarket, I see what you're saying, they're tricking me with this food, or I get some comments. Or I had 2 in a row like a few months ago that said they lost their job, and they're like, any money tips that you do. So I did a whole live with Jan, who was so nice to help me out, and we talked about like how to reduce your groceries and still make your food stretch. So great ideas as to do it. But thank you for saying that. I'm sure that they appreciate it. They're awesome. And that question it's from Jennifer, and she said, I have a budget, and I'm going and I'm good at sticking to it. But when I have a bad day, or bad week, I turn to online shopping and sabotage my progress with debt payments. I have a lot of credit cards and have been having progress in paying them off. Any suggestions?
What's her name again?
Jennifer.
Okay, so Jennifer, I would say, again, with the whole vacation, have a sinking fund for that. So I have a personal spending envelope that I use, and that's kind of, I know that I'm going to be spending money, so that's kind of how I do it. Because even though I'm on this debt-free journey, like, it's a long one. As far as paying off and repaying the student loans. So I don't want to always deprive myself of everything. So that's what I do. I include it in there. And then she did say that she was having success with her
debt payments.
Her debt payments for her credit cards. So I would say if you could celebrate every single one that you've paid off by making that something shopping online experience and saving for that ahead of time. Of course, like, don't get into further debt, but if you can save for it, and that becomes something that is your way of celebrating those wins, then definitely do so, because that's a way that you're gonna get fed for feeling like that, like for wanting to purchase things online, and at the same time there being a reason why you did it, which comes from a good place. It comes from a good place of you paid off a loan, not a loan, sorry. I'm so used to talking about loans because that's always me. But when you pay off a credit card, like every single credit card you pay off, you can, in the meantime, you're paying for it. Obviously, like, you might have to do a small amount. It could be $5 or $10, but it will add up. And then you, or set a certain amount based on what you're trying to purchase, if you already know what you're going to purchase, and then go from there. That's what I would say. Like, create a sinking fund. If you pay off your debt, every single one that you want, if you want to celebrate it that way, or you can do like halves, or like a quarter, 50%, 75%, like 100%, for the total amount of credit cards that you have. But congratulations on your success to being successful paying it off in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's such a great, absolutely. My thing is, I talk about it like I had a really bad day a few years ago with work, and I ended up getting a purse, even though I had a coupon for it. Like I just happened to have a coupon in the car for Macy's, and I bought myself a designer bag, and it wasn't in my budget. It wasn't in my budget, and it was my one and only emotional shop like I ever did. Like I really thought like I was out of work, and I adore my job. I love the people I work with. I love everything about my job, but it was a horrible day, and I did it. And so like when she says like when she's having a bad day, like that's an experience to go to. Like I get comments or questions. I try to like to see like how I emotionally have I ever been there, and that's what I did. But what I can suggest is I have a friend. She's always talking about how like whenever she has a few cocktails, or she go when we could go out, when she was going out, she was having cocktails, and she'd come home the next few days, like she'd get all these Amazon boxes, and she didn't know what was in them because she was
shopping while she was drunk online.
Having a few, yeah. And she said like I ordered like the weirdest stuff, and she's also the one that says like my husband knows when I have a day because a few days later the porch is full of boxes. Like,
wow.
I said to her, I was like,
that's funny.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny. So I told her, like, as a joke, I gave her a tip one time, because my friends are always like, what should I do? And so I said to her, honestly, I'm like, I would just put it in your cart. I'm like, but walk away. Like, I think we've all had like a want to make and moment, like we think like we can do this. But like in retrospect, you think to yourself, I wish I hadn't. So like when you're having a bad day and like you're triggered, like go through the whole experience of, looking and this is pretty and this and this and this and that, and put it in your cart and then walk away. I've done that one time, and I did that, and every time now that I log on to buy anything that I need for the house that I budgeted for, you'll see that bag there, the one that I wanted to get, and I'm like, no, I didn't get it. Like I didn't get it. But I think when emotions are high, you can give yourself like one day. Like leave it in your cart and walk away. And when you're, because everything passes, like every bad day passes, every bad moment passes. And when you feel like you're back in your zen, like look at it again. And if you still feel like it's something that you do need or do want, and you're clear-minded and you can afford it, then I say go, because it is yourself. But like my friend that has too many cocktails, and then she's like, oh my God, I don't even know what this is. Like,
see, and I've been on the end where I've purchased things and I was in an emotional state of being, and I had a bad day too. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, I have that item there for like days, and I don't open it. I don't use it. So it's like, it becomes a waste. Yeah. So I do like the tip that you gave. If you can add it to your cart and, take some time and some space, most times, to be honest with you, you won't even think about it or remember it. You'll just like, you walked away and you're not going to even come back to it. You're going to close the tab or close your tabs without thinking about it. And then it's not going to be there anymore. Mm-hmm. So that's a big thing too. Like I am a natural spender, have always been, and I've obviously been converting into a natural saver now. But when I first started, I would always go out on the weekends, and I wouldn't like have any wine or anything, but I would go to stores and purchase little things here and there, like go to the dollar store and purchase like, $20 worth of things, like little things like that. And it was because I was like in an emotional state where I felt like no matter what I did, this debt was going to be there and I wasn't going to be able to come out of it. And I wasn't like confident that that was going to be something, financial freedom and being debt free was ever going to be something for me. So I had to reprogram my mindset. And I've definitely been there too, where every weekend I would faithfully go out. And when COVID happened, and obviously with me getting my, financial affairs a little bit more in order, being on a budget and learning how to manage my money a whole lot better, I have become a huge homebody and cannot stand even going out anymore. Like I love staying in now. And
sometimes I struggle even with having to go to work. Like, I don't want to be at work. Like, I just want to be at home. But I've definitely been there in that emotional reaction, or I've definitely been there on the emotional side of having a bad day and kind of like wanting that chocolate, like the piece of chocolate. Like I've had a bad day, I need some chocolate. I've had a bad day, I need some ice cream. I've had a bad day, like, you know, I need a eating out you know, moment for our dinner tonight. So that's like, those are things that I know I've definitely experienced. But like I said, I've purchased things emotionally and then I either regret it or I don't use it at all. And that was the case for like this phone, the case for it. I was like, oh, it's a burger case. Like, you hear it often talked about. And I'm like, it's super cute and this and that. But it took me like months to put it on my phone. And I was like, no, Jackie, you purchased it. It was sitting in your dresser. You need to take out that other case that isn't good for your phone and use this one because you purchased it. You bought it and like use it. You know, you wanted it. But sometimes a lot of things that we want are very temporary, you know, just like our emotions, like they're very temporary. Sometimes you want something and then like a minute later, it just kind of goes away. Or a minute later, you're like, I can do with what I have already, you know? So, yeah, just be mindful of your emotions.
Yeah. Granny Prepper with another joke. She says, wine and online shopping don't mix.
For sure. For sure. They don't.
Times to my friend. Absolutely. It was funny. Like one time she was afraid of opening this box because making a weird noise and it was like an alarm clock that like that bounced around. And she's like, why would I want this? Like, I was like, I don't know what you did. Oh, my goodness. I'm just looking at their comments. Sure we didn't miss anyone.
Yeah, Granny said send it back. You can definitely send it back. But see, the thing with sending things back, at least for me, and the way I have thought about things in the past, like I don't want to have to go through the hassle of having to even send it back because I purchased it, you know, from having a bad day or from an emotional place. Like reevaluating that and assessing that even before the purchase happens, and like sending it back is a hassle for me. Like it's just too much. I'd rather just not get it at all because and the biggest thing too for me is like where we're at, people unfortunately, and this is super sad, like they steal packages. So that kind of keeps me from having to always online shop because I know like I'm not always home and there are people here who like to take people's things. So
that's so sad.
So sad. I know it is sad, but like it in a way and in a good way, it avoids like having to make those online purchases.
Yeah, that's a positive way of looking at it. Yeah, definitely.
I know. Spin it in a positive way always.
You always have to. I say rather laugh. Like that's why like I'm like, you know, so when I get emotional, my husband's like, you're crying. I'm like, oh, it's a good cry. I'm like, yeah, it's a good cry.
Happy tears.
Yeah. Oh my God. Absolutely. Well, I can't thank you enough for being on. So you guys, please go check her out, the Financial Latina. And I'm just making sure no one else has any other questions. I've kept you on really late.
I don't care.
Then everything took off and I'm glad you kept trying.
Oh, I'm sorry that it wasn't working, and I hope that I'm not sure if you're gonna edit this, but I hope that everything is better and hopefully everything is good.
Oh my gosh, no, everything was great. No, and thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate it, and I love having your point of view on all these questions, and I'm sure you helped them out as well as anyone watching on replay. We have such great people here watching live, and I really appreciate it. I love my subscribers and everyone else. I love the community that we have. So
yeah, it's all about community. It's all about the people that are there, and I'm really grateful that people, you know, reached out to you with those questions. I'm grateful that there are people on here on this live. I'm grateful that you have such an amazing community of subscribers, and I'm just really appreciative and grateful to even be on here sharing this platform with you. You know, you are super amazing to me. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
And I definitely hope to continue to come together every so often and talk about other things too.
I love that. No, thank you for your kind words. That was really sweet.
Of course.
Anyone who does not know Jackie, she's the Financial Latina. She has it going on. Her chat's fantastic.
I try.
I'm gonna link all her information down below. I hope you guys all go subscribe and watch her. She's fantastic. And Jackie, again, thank you so much for being on and for your kind words. That was really sweet.
Thank you so much.
Oh, of course. And everyone watching live, thank you guys so much for your great comments and for being on as long as we've been on.
We've been on for a while, so
yeah,
thank you. And thank you for those that come on and watch the replay too.
Absolutely. And anyone watching on replay, all Jackie's information is down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And thanks again for being on.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see you soon. And
see you.
Or mine.
Oh yeah, don't forget to on my Instagram, I will be doing this Friday. We're going to be coming together again. So we're going to be talking about a lot of different topics. I'm working on the questions. It's been a busy past 2 days, and I'm sure that you can relate in various ways. But I'm going to be generating those questions, sending them over to you, and then hopefully everybody who is on here as your part of your community can also jump on there, and we can have
Instagram live. Absolutely
amazing discussions.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'll leave the information on my channel as well, so everybody can go check you out. And I can't wait to be on yours. Honestly, this has been fun.
I'm so excited.
Me too. Well, guys,
thank you.
Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.